Hi there, it's a question that's been asked many a time by kids throughout the generations for the last 30, 40, maybe even 50 years. Which is the best 125 money can buy? Now that's paled into a little bit of confusion lately because of the 4-stroke, the stuff that's out, but back in my day it was a 2-stroke. Many a happy mile was spent on the roads, on the fields, and Yamaha, for the most part, sort of like followed through my life with supplies of the little stuff. I moved on to bigger stuff afterwards. Obviously we all fledge on small stuff, but the small stuff still sticks in your heart, and most people want a little bit of what they've had before. That's why I set up my company. Well, it's not a company as such, it's just me, and I import some of the finer machines from France that are still left in decent condition, that are there to sort of like refire and rekindle your youth and motorcycling. It's one of the finer things that you can actually use a bike for going to the shops or even going through the woods. There are Repli racers out there, the RDs, the RGs, the NSRs, but they're all that little bit small, and if you're a 6-footer you look stupid. I'm telling you now, you knew it yourself, but you know. But on to the bikes in question. There's one missing from this lineup of blackies. It's actually the LC Mark 1, which is also one of my favourite bikes. But we'll start with the DTMX. Air-cooled with just torque induction. They were a cracking machine. My first run to the coast proper was on a dt125MX, and I went from Doncaster to Mablethorpe and felt like I'd travelled the earth. But yeah, it was a good machine, quite reliable, but had the problems with the main bearings after about 10,000 miles. They used to roll and rattle for a bit. But again, good, fast machine, good for 65, 70 miles an hour. All-terrain capability was really good, and with the tyres it came with, it did the things. Also, one of the bigger problems with these machines was the fact that they were very often stolen. So good locks and decent security and never leave the thing unattended came to mind. Then came the later thing, but in the UK we never had the luxury of a proper working power valve, but over in France they did. Cables were connected to the actual power valve servo, and these things actually worked. With a rated power in France of 13 horsepower, but with a liberated exhaust and CDI that could carry the revs up to the required range, you could get these up to 22 horsepower. Quite a fun bike to ride, even in the standard trim. In the UK we had fixed power valves, which meant 12 horsepower. But it didn't take long for the spanner wielding spotty guy to work out that if you turned the power valve, you could end up with an awesome power band, especially if you stuck a free-flowing exhaust on it, which would have took the power up to somewhere like about 18 to 20 horsepower. Then we move on to the next generation, which is the dt125r, which existed from 1988 right the way up to 2002, sometimes 2003 in older stock models. It was a benchmark for what was the ideal motorcycle in my mind for a kid. Not just a kid, because they are a wonderful machine when it comes to actually an urban commuter. They go through traffic like you wouldn't believe, and 22 horsepower trim can be quite a fun machine to ride. But that's why I bring them in. I mean, I can't get enough of these things. They're lovely to own, lovely to ride, and best of all, they've got the sweet scent of nice 2-stroke oil. Well, I hope that's fired a few bits of your imagination and taken you back to when you were a kid in a spotty oik. Lots of you actually owned these things just for the field. You remember the ones. Comes with a receipt, mate. Yeah, came from police auctions. His dad had stamped numbers on himself. But Yamaha sorted that out because the machine stamped numbers of later machines sort of like stopped that. No one could do that. And this is a very, very early machine for the 99 model year. This 1002. But there you go. So look, if you're interested in this kind of shite and you want to see a bit more, join my group on Facebook. It's Frankies French Imports. I tend to source and find some decent stuff, and there's also cheapy ones out there that have been used. I mean, this one's not quite as pristine as those, and it's the last of the line. This was the last model that Yamaha actually assembled in Japan because of emissions laws and things like that. Unfortunately, that engine was consigned to the annals of history. It's a shame, really, because the development that went into that little unit, it went in everything. TZRs, there were lots of the companies, Sachs used it in some of their bikes in Germany. A fantastic durable unit with correct two-stroke, right coolant and decent operating principles. They last a long time. I've seen some of these on their original bores at 30,000 kilometres, and just protective maintenance involves a regular check of your rings. Make sure your rings don't go too thin and get trapped in the ports. But yes, 350LC. The other day I was a victim of a failed oil pump, so I've now got a rebuild on my 350LC. And I do fetch some quite challenging machines in. I've got one here that wants an engine rebuild. That's going to be quite a cheap one, but at the end of the day, the beauty's in the eye of the beholder, because Yamaha made some fantastic products, and at the end of the day, I'm glad to keep bringing them in and making people feel 50 years younger. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Join my group, follow the shit that happens on there, and take care, guys. Bye-bye.